Hello everybody, I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. Today we'll take a closer look at two different ways of playing a change of character. So I hope you're ready for it because I think this can be really helpful. Make sure you backtest everything from this video if you want to use it and just don't implement it right away. So really important note. Before we dive into the two types, we need to make sure that the point of interest is valid and that we trade with the trend. Because without a good point of interest, the change of character doesn't make any sense, as we will see in the examples. I can make another good video on point of interest, but for this video we will just use the POIs like I like to see them. I don't want to go too deep into the point of interest, mainly because everybody has a different view on a good point of interest. Now let's look at the two examples. I see the first one as a real change of character and the second one as an inner range change of character. That also makes the second one a little bit more risky. I want the pullback, so we set the pullback right there. And I want the pullback with redistributions, and I want them to be connected. So every redistribution is connected. So no imbalance in between. Just to make sure we have a very balanced price action, because if everything is balanced, the market is more likely to make a great reversal. Another really important part of this pullback is the size of the redistributions. I do not want to see the next redistribution to be less than 40% of the high of the one prior. So we have our redistribution, and I take my Fibonacci and I use the 40%, and I want the redistribution after to be at least 40% of the size of the redistribution before. Same goes for the next one, same goes for the next one. This is the same for every following redistribution, and I start to look for this from the biggest and highest redistribution. So in this example, this is the biggest redistribution, and I always measure it with pips. So the highest redistribution in pips is for me the biggest redistribution. Now we have established a great pullback. Everything is balanced. We start from the highest redistribution, and we have a change of character. And every redistribution was at least 40% of the height of the redistribution before. So we have a change of character. The next step is to pull out Fibonacci. I take the 50 and 80%, and you can put your entry on there. And in most cases, if your demand zone or your point of interest and your trend is correct, this will be a really great setup with almost all of the times a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 5. So a really great risk reward. And also a lot of trades go much higher, but I take profit at a 1 to 5. It's more than enough. So for the second example, we like to see everything exactly the same. The only difference is that we have or less redistribution, and we break the supply zone in between the redistribution. So we have our inner range change of character. We pull out a Fibonacci, do exactly the same, and we will make a great trade because everything is balanced. We have a great point of interest, and we have a high probability of this trade hitting our TP. I also have two real examples just to make it a little bit more clear of what I'm looking for. So the first one, we have a change of character on a higher time frame. And I use my Fibonacci, and I use the 50 and 80% or anywhere below the 50% as a great point of interest. So first we look for the biggest redistribution. So you can see it on the screen, but we can measure in pips. This almost 30 pips is the biggest redistribution. When we go on a little lower time frame, we see we can take the 40%, and we have at least this redistribution that's connecting without imbalance in between, and we have our last redistribution. So we have a great balanced order flow into the 80% of our point of interest. and we make our change of character. So we have balance price action, we have a great point of interest. Next step is to draw a Fibonacci on the 50 and the 80%. I like to use the 50 most of the times, and take a 1 to 5. And as we see, we tapped in 2 times actually, and we made a great 1 to 5. So this is the first example. And now we look at another example of today, and this was with the inner range change of character. So we have a change of character on a little bit higher time frame. We can pull our Fibonacci and check for the 50 and 80%. And it was a really low time frame setup, but it doesn't really matter which time frame. We have our biggest redistribution, and we break the supply in the redistribution. So we measure from this high to this low with a Fibonacci, entry on the 50%, and we can see how it played out. And it was a really great risk to reward trade. A little bit high risk because it was a very small stop loss, and it went for a 1 to 30. I never take it that far, but just to see what's possible with this type of trades. Now, I hope you found a valuable breakdown and you maybe learned a thing or two, because this was it for today, and I hope to see you next time. If you want to learn more about my trading style, you can watch this video.